Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Twyla Williams Damon, and I am going to talk about the theoretical framework, conceptual framework piece of your particular foundation for getting your study situated, or for if you are writing the actual prospectus proposal and you are writing this particular section of that document. First of all, in talking about theories or conceptual frameworks, theories are big pictures, okay? They are the big ticket theories that have been tried and true and used, oftentimes over and over again. I call them basically the big dogs, okay? And then you have concepts, which I kind of call baby theories. And the good thing about concepts is that you can literally advance a concept sometimes more easily than you can advance a theory. Because theories have been used so many times, it's often very difficult to be able to use it in a parameter that it has not already been used in. And when you're doing your dissertation, you will have to prove where you advance the scientific knowledge. Now, we can do that with theories. They wouldn't be theories if we couldn't. But I can tell you of a surety that if you find a concept, it's oftentimes a little bit more easy to do so because they have not been used as much. They have not been applied to as many areas of research. So that's the big difference between a theory and a concept. Okay. So when we're looking at the theories for our particular study, we have to think about the fact that it will underpin our entire study. So the theory needs to be appropriate to our subject matter, and it needs to be applicable to what we are intending to research. So it is very important that you choose a theory that applies and that can help you gather information in a manner that will sufficiently answer the questions or the problem statement that you have come up with. Okay. So when you're writing this section, it's usually for a prospectus proposal, it's usually only about a paragraph long. And you need to start that particular section actually identifying the theory, who was the founder of the theory, the year that it was founded, and then you go into the components of the theory. What is that theory made of? Theories are made of A, B, and C, or you might have 3 components. You may have 5 components. But when you're discussing the theory, you have to go into all components of the theory according to the author of that particular theory. Now, I often get this question, Dr. Damon, do I have to use all of the components of the theory? Because some theories can have 10 components. And the answer is no, you do not. However, when you are explaining the theory, you should explain all components. But you will also, at the end of that, say, for the purposes of this study, I will cover components A, B, C. And you clarify if you are not going to cover all components, you clarify the components that you are going to use and that those are the ones that are appropriate to your particular research. Okay, so when we're looking at theories, there's also a difference when we're looking, a few differences when we're looking at the particular method that we're using when we use the theory. Okay, so when we're in qualitative research, we have students that oftentimes come to me and they have a multiple of theories that they want to use. And I will tell you, in my experience, when you're doing qualitative research, you need one solid, appropriate theory. One. I'll say that again. For qualitative research, you need one solid, appropriate theory. One is enough. Okay. I will give you the example of a pair of glasses. So I have this one pair of glasses on here. And this pair of glasses is actually the lens through which I'm looking at the world around me. Well, your theory is your lens, and it is in which the manner you will look at your study. Okay, so if I take this particular pair of glasses and I add another pair of glasses on top of here, I have just added another theory. And if I take another pair of glasses, I've added another theory. So what happens is eventually it becomes foggy. Okay, it's not clear. because I have layered theory on top of theory. And not only that, I have to um, explain that particular study through each theory that I choose qualitatively. Okay. So then we're getting into doing the work of more than one dissertation. Okay. So that is why I suggest that students have one theory when dealing with qualitative research, a good solid theory that will be the lens through which you have to view your study. Let's keep in mind that that particular theory has several components. So if you had several theories with several components, you would have to write that particular study from all of those lenses. So stick to one good theory for that. Okay. Um, Adding, in some cases, rarely, I will allow, depending on the study, you to maybe have another one, but you have to remember that having more than one theory also, it increases the complexity of the study, sometimes unnecessarily. And you will have to remember that it will affect every part of your dissertation because you will have to write components for each theory. So I want to make sure that you understand that. Now, quantitatively, it's a little bit different. Every variable in a quantitative study has to have a theory attached to it. Every variable in a quantitative study has to have a variable attached to it. How are you analyzing? Through what theory are you analyzing or attaching what theory to that particular variable? Okay. Now, the thing about that is that you can have multiple variables share the same theory. Okay. So, it is not necessary that you have more than one because all of your variables may very well fall under the theory that you have found. And you can oftentimes in quantitative have one theory also. But the fact still remains that the more theories, the more work that comes into play when analyzing your particular research. So there's several things that the theory does. First of all, like I told you, it definitely underpins your study. It is the lens through which you are going to look at your study, the way that you analyze it, the way that you explore it. Okay. The theory also gives us themes. And you say, well, how does the theory give you themes? Well, if you look at the components of your theory, when you so intelligently research that theory and find out exactly what components of that theory are there and what each component means. Because as a researcher, if that is your theory, you have to know that theory like the back of your hand. Okay. So when you look at the components of the theory, you will know that those are the themes of your particular study. Okay. They become the themes of your particular study. They also underpin and help you create your research questions. So this theory is huge. You can't start writing, you can't start researching as narrowly as you need to until you know basically what your theory is. Because you need to know the components of the theory to be able to start to categorize and thematically put resources into buckets that will literally connect to your study as a whole. Okay? So let's talk about this. So say if we're looking at a theory and the theory has perseverance, determination, endurance. I'm just putting them off, the top of my head. If a theory was composed of those three items, well, then perseverance, endurance, and determination would become your themes. Okay, and perseverance would be part of one of your research questions. Determination would be part of your one of your research questions. And endurance, I said, would also be a part of research question 3. Okay. So therefore, you have proven that your theory is interwoven into your research questions. And then you take those same subheadings or themes of endurance, determination, and I don't remember the other one, but you take those same 3 that I just said, and those become the outline for your lit review. It's just like a puzzle. It's magical. So I'll say that again. If you have a theory, and a theory is made up of A, B, and C, A, B, and C become the themes that will help underpin your research questions. So you will literally take your problem statement, turn it into a question, and you will consider for A, for research question 2, you will take your problem statement, turn it into a question, and consider component B of the theory. And research question 3 would be taking your problem statement, turning it into a question, and considering component C of the theory. Done. Your theory can be seen in your research questions, and your research questions are in alignment because you have taken your exact problem statement and just converted it into a question. That's how you do that. And then you go a step further, and component A, component B, and component C become literal subheadings in your lit review. So therefore, it helps guide your research because now you know I need to look for articles dealing with component A of my theory in relation to my phenomena or my variable. And I also need to find resources in relation to component B of my theory, considering my phenomena or my variables. And then in my next heading, when I'm looking for a pool of resources, I will look for those that are in relation to component C of my theory in relation to my phenomena or my variables. So now I've just written my lit review. And I'm not stabbing in the dark. I'm not just looking for research articles anywhere. I know, according to the themes that I've gotten from the components of my theory, what the outline of my lit review needs to look like. So those are the types of resources that I need to look for. This is why I have been so animate about learning about your gap, learning about your resource articles to support your gap, learning about your problem statement, your purpose statement, how to format your research questions, and having a very good theory. Because when you're doing this lit review research, which you're doing in this class, and you need 40 to 50 articles, you need to make sure that those articles count, okay? And the way that they count is that you make sure that you can tie them back to that gap, tie them back to that problem and purpose statement, tie that back to your research questions. And that way your lit review is solid, and you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that when you did that lit review research, you considered the theory, okay? So the theory is huge. In many ways, it's just as important, in my opinion, as the gap, because you need solid gap resources to stand upon to be able to build your dissertation, but you can't get that particular dissertation done without a good theory to underpin the research that you want to do. So you say, where in the heck can I find these theories? Well, the first place I would look is look in your gap resources and see what theories they used. Remember, I told you there's about 10 items that I need for you to find when you are looking for gap resources. I need you to go method, design, theory. That's something I told you to look for. Findings, implications. All of that was for a reason. So now you can go back to your gap resources and say, hey, they used these types of theories. And look, this one seems to be somewhat similar in these articles that I'm finding related to my gap. Voila. So I would then go and look at that particular theory and see if it would also be appropriate for my study. Then there's an even better option, and that is Google Images. I call Google Images the candy store of theories. It is a wonderful place to go, and you open up Google Images, you type in whatever phenomena or title or search word you need, and then put theory behind it, and it will explode with pictures of theories related to that particular topic. Unbelievable. You will find theories that you have never heard of. You will find pictures of theories that are derived from theories. You will see concepts. It's a wonderful place to be able to find theories that may not have been used before, that will make your research differentiated from others. You'll find those that have been used often. But what it does for you is it negates the need for you to go and read 50 or 60 articles on theories. It allows you to look at pictures, and you can look at those pictures that show the components of the theory, and you can decide pretty quickly if it's appropriate or not. If it is appropriate, then you push on the link, or you do more research into that particular theory. But it saves you the time of having to read on all these theories that may not have been appropriate at all from the beginning. Okay. And it allows you to get those out of the way and focus on those that may be appropriate. So use Google Images, use that. Okay. So another item, if you are writing a prospectus document, is that usually in the theoretical frameworks, you also have a section that talks about themes. And I spoke about that earlier. In that section, if it is a thesis or a mini or a prospectus, you literally do a bulleted list of the components of your theory. They are exactly your themes. That's what they are. So whatever the components of your theory are, A, B, and C, that's your outline. Those are your themes. And you would do a description of what that component means with a citation. Okay, again, meaning you would go in, you would research the theory, and you would get that information from there. If you are doing qualitative, you would also add your phenomena keywords after that as particular categories for your themes. And if you are doing qualitative, your variables will also be added on that as themes for your particular themes section. Okay, so when writing these particular types of drafts, remember some drafts have writing maximums. Pay attention to that. And some drafts have writing minimums, so pay attention to that. So whether you are picking a theory to begin your lit review research, or if you are picking a theory because you need to write that section in a document, the information in this video, I hope, has been helpful. Until next time.